Hey everyone, True here, and today we are going to go through all the things you need to know for a good Evertale start. I hope this will help you avoid some common pitfalls and enjoy the game even more. In the description, there are timestamps for the different topics we will cover. Right at the start of the game, you are thrown directly into the offline story, where you can roam around freely. It's one of the few things in the game that work without an active internet connection or during updates. You can catch unique monsters here, some of which are actually quite useful starting out. For example, the Auto Guards, Haunt Shroom and Needle Pest. Feel free to buy things in the shops, the coins won't be your bottleneck in the future. After you finish the first part of the offline story, you basically unlock the rest of the game. Use the offline story to gain some initial experience for your starter units. Don't spend your resources on them though, and you can also gain some initial experience for yourself on the battle mechanics. Speaking of which, in the main menu, you will find the training dojo. These puzzles help you figure out some intricacies of manual Evertale play. Give solving them a try, or if you are impatiently looking at the rewards, there are guides on YouTube how to solve them. You can get 5 copies of a Lightling, which is a decently useful poison stun character with guard break. Decently useful at the start of the game it is. No harm in fully awakening him and putting him in your initial story team. Besides the lightlings, you also get some soul stones, which are the main currency of the game, used for summons and buying other things. And while we are on the topic of soul stones, let's talk about the most important source of soul stones in the entire game, especially but not exclusively for F2Ps, the Lucky Fountain. It appears twice every month around the 1st and 15th. There's no downside to it. Use it as much as you can. Once you can use the fountain fully and consistently, you can expect a passive income from roughly 13,000 to 66,000 free soul stones every month. The returns are not distributed evenly. On average, you can probably expect 10k per fountain. While at first, soul stones will seem to come easily to you from all sides, there's even a beginner's fountain now, later that supply quickly dries up. That's why an important recommendation is to save up to 30k, which you need for the highest tier of the fountain. Afterwards, never drop below 28k if you aren't willing to spend money on the game. Mathematically, no character is worth missing out on a 30k fountain, as all time limited banners come back eventually. On that note, let's move on to when and which characters to pull for. At an early point in the game, you get to pick one SR character directly. Don't sweat this decision too much, as none of these will be super strong in the late game. That said, back when this SR summon was still random, I got the stun survival unit N Soldier, which I think is on the lower half of the 4, together with Barracks, a vengeance unit. Both are still decent additions to your team in the beginning though. The survivor unit Shana with light flip and the savage guard breaker Yedariel are just slightly above them in my opinion. Much more important is the decision regarding SSR banners and which units to summon for when. In conjunction with the prior point about the Lucky Fountain, I recommend you go for one of 3 starting strategies, all of which have some merits. The first option only applies to you if you are willing to spend some money on Evertale. If you can afford it, try to go to the Lucky Fountain, maybe even unlocking the 30k tier on the first one you encounter. You can also pull for strong banners along the way, but try not to miss any Lucky Fountains in any case. Sometimes there are also SSR banners specifically for 1000 paid soul stones. They give at least one guaranteed SSR character, which is the best deal you can get. Then there's the second option. You save every soul stone that you get and try to get through the event and story battles with your other units. Strong SSR mercenaries from other players could help you for the time being. This strategy ensures that you get the highest lucky fountain as quickly as possible and start the passive soulstone income as early as possible. Afterwards, you can pull for SSR characters, but remember to never drop below 28k SS. And last but not least, the third option, you try to get a strong SSR character early to carry your team further through the starting phase. Keep in mind that you could be super lucky with your summons or get no SSR for dozens of pulls instead. It is a gamble, though you also get some weapons and decent R and SR characters while pulling, further strengthening your early team. After you get one SSR character, you start saving to 30k and proceed as in option 2. Now, which should be the first SSR that you pull for? I highly recommend going for a self-sustaining DPS unit from SSS or SS tier. Those are generally solo units with carry potential that can take you far in all parts of the game. Check out my latest database tier list in the description to find out which units currently dominate the meta, with details on what makes them great. Right now, I think Earth Musha, Lancelot and Storm Jean are the best beginner units. I don't see them going out of fashion soon, but do yourself a favor and check the latest meta data. There are different team compositions in Evertale, like Poison, Blood, Burn and Sleep, but just focus on perfecting the synergy with your first SSR in the beginning. I cover more advanced team building in other videos. In terms of summoning, try to avoid pulling directly for any characters below B tier in my list, except if you are going for fellowships. Some of those lower tier characters are still good, and some you can and will get as off banners eventually. Try to be picky with your soul stones. And actually, don't just be picky with your soul stones, but also some other resources and which units you spend them on. The general recommendation is to only spend heavily on great SSR units and weapons. If your first SSR is good, go all in on it. Let's cover the details and pitfalls. SSR units can go up until level 200. This may seem daunting at first, but the required limit break potions and XP coins will be worth it. Don't spread yourself thin even if you have multiple SSRs. Focus on the best DPS at first. To truly unlock all the power in your SSRs, you need to fully awaken and ascend them. That means fusing 4 more copies into them. The power boost they get from that is very significant. While only quickly achievable for whales, don't disregard this if you are free to play either. Try to fully awaken your strong SSRs eventually. Full awakenings are also important for fellowships, but those should just be a nice bonus if you are free to play, and not your main motivation to pull on certain banners. The first 100 boosts are pretty cheap, but then the price for each level increases. The power return is also better for the later boosts though. The overall boost level is limited by your rank, and while 300 is the maximum boost level, around 200 is a solid place to stop for your strongest SSRs. Only go higher if you are very certain about your unit. Potential can reach 100%, but the returns are strongly diminishing after 60%, so you might want to stop at 60% or 66%. The fruit cost per potential gained is actually higher or much higher before you reach rank 200. So if you can, hold back for some time. You'll get there more quickly than you think. Mastery uses mastery scrolls and is a bit more specific. While just leveling up mastery, going up to level 40, already unlocks some significant additional power, the more interesting part is upping the elemental offense or defense of your character. This is unique to each one, but tanks and supports mainly benefit from defense mastery. while for damage dealers, the case is much more complex. Reset cores are needed if you wanna completely reallocate mastery points, so do give it some thought before locking it in. If you are unsure, I would lean towards spreading out the mastery among the elements, as there is also diminishing return components and the meta can be fluent. Speaking of elements, there is a general elemental wheel taking effect in all Evertale battles. Fire is stronger against earth, earth against storm, storm against water, and water against fire. Going their separate ways, dark and light are strong against each other. You can consider these strengths and weaknesses in your mastery allocation as well. In terms of powering up, most of what is true for the characters is true for weapons. Higher boosts have significantly lower returns though, and there is no mastery. Overall, weapons can only reach roughly 1 million power, a number based on HP and attack stats. Contrarily, standard characters can go up to 8 million power. However, weapons have another neat feature: weapon effects. Depending on the weapon type, it grants the user higher attack, less damage taken, or lower time units used under specific circumstances. It can only activate if the unit has the type of weapon as a preferred weapon type. Fully awakened units gain the ability to use a second weapon type to its full extent. If you are only after the stats, which is fine in the beginning, the correct weapon color, yellow or red, is the only prerequisite. Now all those units and weapons are a lot to take in. If you try to get an overview of all the stuff available in the game, you can go to the Encyclopedia like this. However, for an even better overview, I recommend going to the Evertale Toolbox by Nizetto. It features more detailed information, I'll link it in the description. Looking at the accessories here quickly, they can boost your characters further, especially the speed, which your weapons cannot, but aren't that big of a deal anymore since 2.0 arrived. Try to put SSR or SR accessories on your strongest characters. Now let's move on to a different point entirely. If you are not roaming the offline story, you will often need to use mana or mana potions to proceed. So how should you prioritize? The most important usage is the one for events, which are always temporary and some of them don't return for a very long time. Clearing the stages for the first time will give you additional resources and soulstones. Try to finish as many as possible. Later you can grind already completed stages. Pick the ones with the highest mana usage for the best returns. 80 is usually the highest. Use the featured units in your team for higher returns as well. And use mercenaries who also boost your event currency outcome. Stay away from the event mercenaries though, they don't count. Each event has a shop. If available, try getting the SR character first, like Welser here, and use her in your team to boost your returns. Also, make sure to collect all SSR weapon copies or accessories. Character resources tend to be scarcer, so focus on the green pots and green coins first, getting time gems and blue pots later. I recommend only getting the weapon XP in the end or skipping it entirely, as their sources are plentiful in the game. Second priority is the online story, where you can get some soulstones and materials. It is always available to you if you have enough mana for the fights. Last priority should be Fluorite mines. After getting the SSR weapon, the characters, 4 fellowships and the accessories, the only valid option left are friend points, and the exchange rate is pretty bad. A better source for resources is the raids, which happen for an hour twice a day. Check here what's the local time for them on your server. As you can guess, I'm often missing the second raids. If you don't want that and they happen at a time that works for you, you can also set an alarm to make sure you don't forget. Times for them are stable, except around possible switches between summer and winter time. Which raid you pick depends on which resources you need the most. The majority of players seem to be a bit low on green character potions, which you can get from Bahamut raids, that is the poison dragon. You can complete 3 raids, but if you do the exact same one again, the returns will be much lower. Now generally you can try solo the raids. There's unlimited tries, and for fun I even soloed raids with just one unit, Water Snow White, as seen in another video. But it is generally a good idea to team up with some other players. They could carry you, or eventually you them, to achieve victory against a much stronger boss. Only the first platoon of each player is used, but with some new powerful SSRs, chances are actually pretty good. On the topic of teaming up, definitely try to join an active alliance, which gives out free daily soulstones. If it's a strong alliance, you may also join wars, which are automated but still require active inputs with your platoons, the attack phase taking 45 minutes. Maybe your alliance has a Discord server for better communication as well, where you can learn more about the game and the people you play it with. For quite a few, the interactions with other players become a great part of the game, whether that's on an alliance server, the general or true Discord, or maybe the Evertale subreddit. I find the Evertale community to usually be quite helpful and friendly, and actually met many cool people through the game. While on the topic of interactions, let's briefly cover Arena as well. This is kind of the automatic replacement for manual PvP, which was a thing in 1.0. You can watch your 5 most recent fights here. What are the mechanics of local arena? You usually get to challenge players from your server above you in the rankings, and if you win, you get their spot. Check out the player's team before challenging them to evaluate your chances. Every day there is a cutoff at which the rewards are given out based on the rankings. So if you want to maximize your earnings, it's best to use your challenges right before that time. You can buy more challenges with soulstones, but it's really unnecessary. You can earn soulstones from your placement, but also some other stuff like friend points and arena coins. In the arena shop, only buy exploration decrees. The only exception is mastery reset cores if you really need them. If your server has reached a certain age, you may get grouped with some other servers for war and arena. To qualify for Champions Arena, you need to be top 100 at your local arena cutoff for the day. Use your 10 challenges to gain points. When you lose, then you still gain 10. When you win, 20 or more. Others may also challenge you. If you win against your challenger, you lose 0 points. If you lose, you go down by 10 points. Contrary to local arena, you cannot check the arena teams here, except the top 50 in the rankings. Alliance membership is also hidden. Lastly, a quick view on the Tower of Trials. Use your daily explorations, of course, and some of your time gems as well. Collect the loot and challenge the boss. Some features, like fast forwards, only unlock at a certain boss level, but other than that, the rewards for defeating a boss are pretty mild. So I wouldn't get too hung up on absolutely needing to complete a floor. The bosses repeat every 20 floors, but get absurdly strong, far stronger than even maxed out units. That said, there's no limit on tries, and the order of the units and AI behavior changes each time, so it may be possible to beat a floor with the same team that has failed dozens of times before. New 2.0 units only show up as bosses on very high tower levels, so that gives you a lot of breathing room with your newer OP units until then. Some of these Tower of Trial activities count towards your missions. For what to do daily, check out my Evertale Day 1000 video. While all this in one go may have seemed like a lot, the game itself is actually not very time devouring once you find your groove with it. Which I hope this video helped you to. In the description you'll find more resources. To sum it up, just remember to save your soul stones for the lucky fountain and only spend on strong units. Most importantly though, have fun. If you do some things differently than described here, that is absolutely fine too. Maybe you also just want to collect monsters or something like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe for more Evertale content. It really helps me keep going with my small channel. And as always, thanks for watching.